There's not a dealer in the country who doesn't believe that good service pays off in more business, both in the front end and in the parts and service departments. But that sounds like a generalization. Let's look at a couple of facts. Fact number one, poor service is the number one reason why vehicle owners do not plan to buy again from the same dealers. Fact number two, 76% of the car owners who are completely satisfied with their service plan to buy their next car from the same dealership. In other words, there's factual evidence that good service, good owner relations, pays off. The key question, though, is this. What specific things do the dealerships with the best records on owner relations do? Last year, a research team went into high and low complaint dealerships to find the answers. Their job was to find out specifically what the low complaint dealers were doing versus the high complaint dealers. In other words, why the difference? In a nutshell, they found the differences centered on three areas: workflow, quality control, and an overriding concern for the customer. That's what this program is all about, to show some ideas being used in successful, profitable, low complaint operations. The first area we'll explore is workflow. And by workflow, we mean what happens to maintain control over the job from the time the customers bring their cars in to the time they drive them out. To Stan Sands, the key to a controlled workflow is the man who runs that system, the dispatcher. Because his dispatcher was off the day we taped there, Stan was taking his place. That's how important that job is viewed by Stan.
The dispatcher operates the shop. You know, I let him control the board, who gets what and when. You know, I don't walk out and try to schedule everything. That's his responsibility. And he's directly responsible for the operation of the shop as far as the scheduling and loading.
Stan went on to say that clocking technicians on and off every job is essential to maintain control.
We clock everything. We clock the warranty tickets as well as the customer pay. The reason we started clocking the customer pay was primarily getting the habit of clocking. You know, it's got to be second nature. It's got to be a reflex action, and it takes a while to get used to it. The dispatcher does the punching. It's extremely important. To me, that's probably number one in gaining control.
Stan's dealership, Willett Lincoln-Mercury, is relatively moderate size as compared to the sprawling outdoor bays of Earnhardt Ford in Tempe, Arizona, where Dave Hart is parts and service director. But Dave, too, relies heavily on his dispatcher and the time clock to keep control of his operations. Dave also feels that it is important to keep control of communications between the dispatcher and the technicians in the bay. So he's installed a system of air tubes through which ROs can be sent and returned, and a complete intercom system so that questions can be asked and answered without forcing the technicians out of their workstations. Just as important as communication is the transportation system. Cars to be fixed are brought to the bays by lot boys. Parts are sent from the parts department to the technicians by runners using golf carts. The main idea is to keep control of what's going on and keep the technicians in their stalls where they can be productive all day long. Big or small, the dispatcher, the clock, good communications, and transportation are key parts of controlled workflow. Dave also believes another key element of workflow is an appointment system, though he recognizes many managers don't agree with him on appointments.
Well, a lot of service managers don't believe in the appointment system because they feel it's a crutch for the service writer, and it's difficult for him to work an appointment system, and it is to some degree, but we, because of the capabilities of our scheduling and loading dispatch system, we are able to have appointments. And what we're doing is we're trying to accomplish a couple of things. Number one, we don't want the drive to be completely crowded in the morning. It doesn't allow the service advisor time to sell, okay? And it also inconveniences the customer because he's just sitting there waiting.
An added benefit for the customers is that they can come in with their cars, wait for them to be fixed, and then go about their business without having to leave their car all day. a combination of good business and good owner relations. We asked Dave to explain what happens when a customer arrives with a car to be repaired.
The car comes on the service drive and a greeter girl meets the customer and says good morning and offers them a cup of coffee and asks them whether or not they have an appointment. If the customer says that they have an appointment, okay, then she puts a control numbered card on the rear view mirror, and that card is coded green. That alerts the service advisor to the fact that that customer does have an appointment with us at that prearranged time, so that the repair order has already been written in advance, the headings on it. And this is just to facilitate the customer and the service writer and not to tie up the customer while we're writing the heading of all of the repair orders.
Let's step back and take a quick review of what makes for a well-controlled workflow system. 1. Ensure that you're staffed and organized properly. Now, this means well-trained technicians in their stalls focusing only on doing the repair properly. Parts runners and lot boys who are handling their assignments so that technicians aren't distracted. A smooth flow of paperwork within the dealership. A controlled workflow system is not a luxury that only the largest dealers need. Every service manager needs to have his arms around the job no matter what size operation he's running. 2. Use a dispatcher so that the right man always gets the right job. And equally important, so that it's always possible to answer questions from customers on the status of their cars. And 3, utilization of an appointment system. That reduces both the morning lineup and the 5 o'clock lineup, allows the service advisor more time to consult with their customers, and makes it unnecessary for customers to give up their cars to the dealership for the entire day. Now, let's turn our attention to the second major area we wish to explore: quality control. Service department quality control is really a two-step effort. It's the regular procedure designed to assure that the customer vehicles are fixed right the first time, as promised, when promised. And it's also an action plan which assures that if and when a comeback does occur, that special efforts are made to make sure the problem is corrected. Low complaint dealerships believe one word describes quality control. That word is accountability. Some one person has the responsibility for checking repairs, checking work done. Who that person is varies from dealer to dealer. For example, Tony Ellum, service manager of Villa Ford in Orange, California, has a quality control inspector who works at that service department's quality control station, where all cars are brought after the work is done.
The last person to work on the vehicle, the last mechanic to work on the vehicle, brings it to this area behind me here. He pulls the hood, leaves a hat on the top of the car, and we have 15 spaces for that specific purpose. So we've always got the space to have the mechanic park a car in. And then we have a full-time inspector, and with him he has a full-time car jockey. So it takes 2 people to make this system work properly. And every car is inspected 100%. The mechanic parks it here, the inspector gets the ticket from the dispatcher, he inspects it for cleanliness, smudges, greases, quality of work, and if necessary, road tests it around the block or wherever it may be on the freeway. And then after the car is finished, he's inspected it, he signs off to say it's been personally inspected by him.
Dave Hart, on the other hand, uses a shop foreman to control quality in his shop.
Well, we feel that quality control is not a thing that we just do after the car is finished. We feel that quality control is something that has to be going on all of the time as the car is in process of being repaired. We have a shop foreman who spends his time doing 2 things, basically. One is looking for additional sales, additional things that are needed on the car in addition to what the customer has requested to have done. Also, he's spending his time with the technicians, making sure that if they have a problem, that the problem is being solved. He's giving them technical assistance.
Bill Wright from Duryea Motors in Brockport, New York, has still another individual who's accountable. It's the service advisors who are responsible for quality control in his shop.
The advisor is responsible for the individual, the car, and the repairs being made on the vehicle. If he knows the mechanic and he knows that he's a quality man, he may or he may not check that particular job. We try to spot check whether he is a quality man or a mediocre employee, and to make sure that the quality of the work is up to standards.
Our research team noted that pre-delivery got special attention in each of these low complaint dealerships. Getting the cars right for the customer required a system to check out the cars before they were delivered. Not a complicated system, but one which made sure the pre-delivery was complete. Dave Hart's comments were typical.
I mean, can you imagine coming in and buying an $8,000 car and driving out and not, the lighter not working or the speedometer not working or something not working? We like to get these things handled initially, because if the man does find something as obvious as that wrong with the automobile when we deliver it, then he'll go through the entire car and just pick it apart. Generally speaking, you just pick it apart.
Even with the quality control effort put forth by these dealerships, they have comebacks. Another difference between the high and low complaint dealerships was the emphasis placed on how well they handled those comebacks.
You only get one shot at them. They go away once. Everybody makes a mistake, but you don't make the same mistake twice. You've got 2 shots, the first time and then the second time. It better be right or you've lost them.
Nobody likes rechecks. It's bad for customer relations, it's bad for our reputation, and it's bad for morale in the shop. So anything that comes in, we have special hats that we put on top of the cars. VIP, which doesn't stand for very important person, stands for very important problem. Recheck to me is a great problem. So to overcome that, we use that system, and the shop foreman himself handles each recheck.
No matter how many or how few ROs a service department has, there's still a need for quality control. Checking on a routine basis by someone who has quality control as an assigned responsibility. This was accomplished in several ways. In one store, there was a quality control station. Most used a shop foreman, and one used the service advisors. In each case, there was someone with the assigned responsibility to carry out a checking schedule. Secondly, quality control also included a specific plan of action to take care of comebacks. This meant special, immediate attention for the customer and the car. A third area consistently given special attention by the low complaint dealership management team was pre-delivery, a reflection of a philosophy that says, first impressions last, so let's give every customer a good first impression on their new cars. The next area we're going to review is concern for the customer. Maybe that sounds a little corny, but for those low complaint dealers, it wasn't corny at all. It's serious business.
After all, that's what it's all about. People are going to have their cars serviced, and they'll buy new vehicles and so forth, and the place they're going to do it is where they're treated and respected and shown like we care. You know, just that genuine concern.
Genuine concern, and making it easy for the customer to do business at your dealership. For example, pre-stamping credit cards.
We ask the customer either for his card, and we may even stamp the card ahead of time, or at least his number. And during the day, as the repair is finished and he comes back at 5, the repair may have been done at 2 o'clock. The authorization has already been gotten. The number's on there, ticket's already filled out. Fine, he comes to the window and hands us his card, we stamp it. No need to wait for that call. And they appreciate it very much. We have people now coming in and handing us their card.
Tony Elam of Villa Ford has a method to add a little personalized touch to his operation, to show concern and to make it easier for their customers.
Well, we like to think we're very personalized. I mean, when the customer comes in, he is given a small card with a photograph of the service advisor on it to begin with, not just a number. I mean, Ford's computers, everything's numbers, but they're assigned numbers, obviously, but the most important thing is to have a face, you know, rather than a number. So all our little cards that we do give to people, they got the photograph of the service advisor on there, his name, and his extension number, to make it more personalized.
Dave Hart's people look for ways to anticipate problems. For example, internal communications. They make sure that everyone understands why it's important to keep internal communications flowing.
We can see problems coming as we go down through the day. For an example, we might find that we have made a mistake in terms of the amount of work that's necessary to be done on the automobile. It's important for the mechanic to get back to the dispatcher and then the dispatcher back to the service advisor so that he can call that customer and make that customer aware of the problem. We were talking before about the time promise. If we say that a car is going to be ready at 3 o'clock and we've promised that car for that time and we run into some difficulties, we've got to let the customer know ahead of time.
Another person who has an opportunity to anticipate potential customer problems is the cashier.
Well, our cashiers we think are very important because we were talking about the service writer and our image there. Our image is also at the cash register area. This is the area where we separate the customer from his money. It's very important. If they have a problem, they have to be able to anticipate the customer. If he gets upset or excited, or they should be in anticipation of that, and they should attempt to calm him down and to contact a service advisor or the service manager as quickly as possible.
Concern for the customer continued after the repairs were completed. These low complaint dealerships all utilized follow-up procedures to make certain they made it easy for the customer to complain to them rather than the factory.
We have a follow-up system, which we have a girl that calls within a 24-hour period of every repair order that is processed through the service department, which she calls and asks the question if she was satisfied with the service, if they still have any particular problem that wasn't resolved, and if they do have a problem, then she turns the phone conversation over to one of the advisors.
We have owner relation cards that are stapled to all of our repair orders, and we do see that they all go through the general manager, the owner, and then back to me. And I have to have some type of response to those letters that I get. Each one is followed up completely.
In addition, a number of these service managers feel it's worthwhile for them to personally contact customers who have recently visited their dealership.
Along the same line, I call, again, no pattern to it, but I'll call a customer, especially if I feel as though it might be a touchy situation, like a choke, which can be adjusted many different ways. And I'll spot check a couple of days later and say, how has that been running? Have you had a chance to try it? Have you had a chance to drive it on the highway now? And have we got that noise out? I try to do it as often as I can, not as often as I like, but it helps. It's the guy saying, holy cow, he called me. I didn't believe they were that interested.
Examples of concern for the customer could go on and on. Basically, it boils down to two things. One, anticipation of customer needs. This means providing those extra services that tell the customer you sincerely want and value their business. And two, follow-up feedback to make certain the job was done to the customer's satisfaction. When a business, any business, makes the effort to contact customers after they've taken their money, it says they're concerned for the customer and concerned with making their service even better than it is. This tape highlighted the ideas and approaches that made the difference for the dealers who operate low complaint dealerships, successful, profitable operations, some large, some small facilities in a variety of markets. The three major areas that our research credited for making the difference for these dealers were: 1, workflow; 2, quality control; and 3, an overriding concern for the customer. Are you satisfied that each of these major areas is being handled as well as it could be in your dealership? If you think there is room for improvement, you might want to try some of the ideas which the low complaint dealers are using. Just one of them could make a difference to you, your service department, and to your customers.